Hello, everyone. It's Adam Caplan here for Inside the Birds. We're doing our first audio and visual, you could call it, NFL mock draft. We'll do 32 picks. It's only one round. I don't do 2 rounds or 3 rounds. I mean, I know some people do all 7 rounds, but I do one round, which I've done for 20 some odd years. But this is the first time I've ever done an audio and video one. So it's going to be pretty cool. It's something different we're trying here at Inside the Birds. And let's get started, folks. Let's get right into it. And I don't, just a couple disclaimers. I do not do trades in these drafts, although I will talk about when we discuss other considerations about the potential of a trade. But I don't do trades in these things. I just give you an idea. I'm talking to people around the league about how they see the rosters of these teams. And remember, when you evaluate a roster, just like general managers do and front offices do, they're not drafting for 1 year. They're drafting for the future. The mock is never about 1 year. It's about the future with an eye on the current year. And that's really the way you should look at this. So when you see some of these picks, you go, wait a minute, they're not addressing this, this, and this, and this. For my team to win, they got to do this. It's not that your team doesn't know that they have this need for this season, but they're not drafting just for the season. They're drafting for the future, again, with an eye on this season. It's a little different than you think sometimes. And when I first started covering the league in the early 2000s, I didn't really know that. I made a number of mistakes trying to do these mock drafts because I was just drafting for the current year. I just didn't realize that, oh, you know what? I better start looking towards the future. Contracts, by the way, are taken into account. Future contracts or decisions have to be made where they might have to cut a player after the season or trade them. So you have to take that into consideration. But let's get started with the first pick overall. Goes to the Tennessee Titans. And I'm sure their front office, namely Chad Brinker and Mike Bergonzi, do not want to be in this position again to have the first pick overall. I know a lot of fans think they should trade down. I get that because they have so many needs. I've got their current and future needs as quarterback, which is obvious, receiver. They need edge rushers. They need to figure out right tackle, right guard, and safety. They need another safety. But listen, folks, when you look at the value of a roster and a position, the value board by position, I learned this from the late Gil Brandt in the early 2000s, sitting with Gil. I remember him telling me, because I asked him, how do you know? Like, how do you put a board together in terms of value? He said, quarterback, left tackle for a right-handed quarterback, edge rusher, cornerback. Well, the Titans don't know who the future quarterback is. They don't even know currently. We know Will Levis is in the mix, but they're trying to figure out the future, and they're hoping they'll never be in this position again at first pick overall. So to me, considerations here are Cam Ward, who is the best quarterback for this draft, or Abdul Carter. They do need edge. They need to help out Harold Landry. There's no question about it. They need playmakers on defense. They certainly could use a receiver, but the value is not there. So we are going to go with this first pick overall as we turn in the card. And Roger Goodell, Commissioner Goodell, calls it out. Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami. That's the pick number 1. Number 2 goes to the Cleveland Browns, where, okay, they need a quarterback. Deshaun Watson is not it. Yes, they're stuck with his contract, but they need to figure out the future quarterback. They also need an edge rusher. Even if they have Myles Garrett not traded, they still need someone for the future opposite him. And obviously, if they're going to trade him, they're probably going to get someone back in a trade. Plus, they would probably draft somebody. But when you look at it, yes, left tackle is also an issue with Jedrick Wills, his contract being up. I know some people want them to take a receiver, not this early. So it comes down to me, the considerations are Ward if he drops to 2, or Abdul Carter. Since in this mock draft, Abdul Carter is there, we're taking Abdul Carter, the best player on the board here for the Browns. And this really helps solidify the edge rush group for this football team for the future. This pick is not so much for this season, folks. You got to look at contracts and down the line what potentially could happen here. Now, this is our first mock draft. We'll have a series of these leading up to the draft in late April. So I may change my mind, but right now we're going to go with Abdul Carter. So far we've got Ward going to the Titans and Carter going to the Browns at 3. This is where it becomes tougher. Because yes, the biggest need by far in this football team is quarterback. For the future, they need wide receiver. They also need a right tackle. They have to decide if Jermaine Illuminor is going to be the right tackle. They also could use a guard. They could use another corner. They could use another safety to pair with Newman. Obviously, they're not going with safety here. It's too early. Now, this is where it becomes tough because Shedeur Sanders is going in the first round. I don't see, and again, we don't do trades, but if there are no trades in the real NFL draft, I can't see Sanders getting past 6 to the Raiders because they need a future quarterback. Now, theoretically, because the Giants have so many needs, sure, they could trade down. And they could also take, now this is where Travis Hunter is in play here at number 3. No question about it. Travis Hunter, who's going to play corner most of the time, he'll play corner as a change-up wide receiver. I thought long and hard about this because of the value of quarterback. Theoretically, yes, you'd like to trade down to get Sanders, but for now, we're going to go with Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback from Colorado, Deion's son, obviously. But the other consideration, and it's a strong one, is Travis Hunter, his teammate from Colorado. How cool would that be if they went back-to-back? So far, we've got it Ward, Carter, and Sanders, the first 3 picks in our first mock draft. Audio visual style. 4th overall on this draft, the New England Patriots, who need a lot of help. I mean, they were all over the receiver position in free agency. They had interest in Ayuk. They called the Eagles about A.J. Brown. They called everybody before Brown, of course, got his extension. They called around. They couldn't get anybody. They went to Calvin Ridley. Ridley wanted to stay down south. The Patriots need offensive tackle help in the worst way. They need receivers. They need corner. They could use edge help. No question about that. But it comes down to the best player available for a current or future need. If Hunter's here, they're taking him, I would think. Now, will Campbell see that? I know a lot of people think they should go with Campbell. It's the value of the player. To me, he's not the value of Hunter. Hunter's a better football player overall. And we're going with Travis Hunter here, a corner. I would love to see him paired up with Christian Gonzalez. He is our pick here. Elliott Wolf, to me, and his personnel group, that they should take 5 seconds to turn this pick in if Travis Hunter is there based on the way this thing goes here. Now, what is there anyone else who could go here? I know some people would like Mason Graham for the Patriots to take him. I don't see it. I see Hunter being the first pick there. So we've got now 4 picks taken in this first round. Let's go to number 5. Mason Graham is a guy I know a lot of people want for the Jaguars to get to help solidify their front. I get that. If Travis Hunter is there, they're taking him. They need corner. And corner, by the way, is their number 1 need. And Hunter is the best player if he drops. I would agree with those who say Mason Graham. Yes, he is the best player on the board. Safety, I know they need it. It's not a value there. Guard, I know it's a need. They need 1 guard. It's not a value there. You don't take a guard that early. Unless he's like Steve Hutchinson, who's a potential Hall of Famer. So I don't see that. Hunter, it's a 5-second pick if he's there. If not, Mason Graham for the purposes of this mock, we're looking at Mason Graham, the D tackle out of Michigan, going at number 5 here to the Jaguars. We're ready for this quick promo. We got the Raiders, then the Jets. Oh boy, there could be a shakeup here at number 6 and number 7. So, folks, before we move on, I want to tell people about my friends at Stretch Zone. I've been a client for 4 years. My friend Dave Spadaro told me about them back in 2021, and I've never looked back. As soon as I went in there in December of 21, there was a game changer for me. I was blown away by how well I feel because I play tennis 4 to 5 days a week all year if I'm home. But the other reason why is, folks, if you're flying or coming back from a flight, or you're a kayaker like my wife, or a jogger like my partner Jeff Mosher, for whatever you do physically, whether you work in retail like my wife, or you're standing up, or you're a doctor, or you're a lawyer, if you're someone who's standing up a lot, you need to feel better. And be like me, you can get that free 30-minute stretch, which I did, by the way, back in December of 2021 in their Exton location. You can get it one of 3 ways. StretchZone.com. It takes about 30 seconds to fill out the information. You could call one of your local locations in PA or New Jersey, again, or you could go in person. You could do it anywhere like I did. You could do it like that. You could call, or you can go to the website, StretchZone.com. It's very easy. It's 30 minutes. And what I would recommend before we move on is get your hamstrings done. If you're bald like me, get your quadriceps done. That's the toughest one. Get your shoulders done if you're a pickleballer or racket sports of any type, or padel, which I love, by the way. I want to try padel. I love watching it. It's super cool. Get your shoulders done. Get your traps done. Traps are my toughest one from overuse from tennis. So just go to stretchzone.com and learn more and be like me and feel better. Stretchzone.com. All right, let's get back to it. Raiders. This one, see, obviously, if there's a quarterback here, Shedeur Sanders has to be the pick, but I have him going to the Giants at number 3. So if Sanders is gone, here are their needs here. Quarterback, cornerback, outside corner, big need. Running back, you're not taking Genty. I'm sorry, it's too early. Great football player. It's too early for running back. The value's not there. Receiver, yes, it's a need for currently and the future. D-tackle, Graham could be a consideration. They've got a big money guy at one of the spots, so I don't see it. They can get it later. Edge rusher, Max Crosby, his situation. Are they going to trade him? Are they going to keep him? They could also use someone opposite him if they keep him. But the best player on the board is McMillan, the receiver from U of A. He's a big-time playmaker, great size, great football player. He's the best player on the board. They got Brock Bowers last year. They're still if they take McMillan here, John Spytek, he knows the value of Mike Evans. He came from Tampa Bay. To me, that's the best player available. McMillan, the receiver out of U of A, at number 6 to the Raiders. Let's go to the Jets. This one was really tough because, yes, they need a quarterback of the future and now. They need a corner. DJ Reed is up. They need receivers. They got to make a decision on Devontae Adams, but they also need help. But obviously, if they kept him and redid his deal, he can't be making what he's on the books for. So they have to get through his contractual situation. And then obviously extending Wilson's contract, that's got to be in play here for their new front office. But Devontae Adams making $35.64 million is unattainable, so they've got to figure that out. But when you look at their needs here, tight end, right tackle, safety, and defensive tackle, it's really the best player on the board here. Corner, I know there's some good corners. Corner's definitely a consideration. I know some fans want them to take another edge rusher. I get that. I don't see it. I see corner. I see receiver, certainly here. And tight end, it comes down who's the best player available. I know it's not going to be popular with some people. I've got Tyler Warren. I'm going to put him in here. I'm going to pencil him in here because I could change my mind. He is by far the best tight end. He's one of the best players overall in this draft. I believe he's going in the top 10. This is the earliest I see him going. We're going to go with Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, as the pick. The first 7 picks so far: Titans, Cam Ward; Browns, Abdul Carter; Giants, Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback; his teammate, Travis Hunter, going 4 to the Patriots; 5, Mason Graham, the D-tackle of Michigan; Raiders at 6, McMillan, receiver out of U of A, Arizona; Jets, Tyler Warren, the tight end. At number 8, any Panther fan knows this. They have the worst pass rush we've seen in years. They've got to get the best edge rusher for now and for the future. Yes, they need a D-tackle. I get that. It's a big need, but there's no value here. Quite frankly, at this, with Mason Graham going off the board already to the Jaguars. Sure, they need a corner, a safety, a receiver, but it to me, it's the best edge available. I know there's going to be a debate of which edge rusher. Is it Mike Green? Is it Jalen Walker? Is it Michael Williams? Williams and Walker, teammates from Georgia. I reserve my right to later on to change my mind based on talking to NFL people who teams have graded higher. Right now, I've got Michael Williams, the edge rusher from Georgia. Panther fans could take a big sigh of relief. They're finally getting an edge rusher, and that's been a major need for years. That is number 8, Williams, the edge rusher from Georgia, to the Panthers. Number 9, staying in the NFC South, we've got Jalen Walker as a big consideration here. We know they need a quarterback of the future. They're not getting one here. They need a corner. I get it. There's no doubt about that. They need an edge rusher of the future. They need a D-tackle. They need a tight end. They could get one later. To me, it's the best edge rusher available. It comes down to Walker or Mike Green. Teams ordinarily are not willing to take the smaller school guy over the big school player, which is why we're going with Jalen Walker here out of Georgia to number 9 for the Saints. Now, I'm strongly looking at corner here. Will Johnson's a consideration out of Michigan, but I've got Jalen Walker, the higher graded player for the Saints here at number 9. At number 10, I know fans want them to rebuild this offensive line. I get that, but you can't reach for need over the best player available. I know a lot of people want them to take Kelvin Banks, which would be a fine pick. They could upgrade it offensive tackle. Mike Green has got so much upside and so talented, the edge rusher for Marshall, Senior Bowl guy. It comes down to Banks and Green for me. I'm going with Green here. They've got to get edge rush help. They're good at linebacker. They're good in the secondary. I know they have to rebuild their offensive line. We'll do that later on for them in just discussions with notes before the draft. But I'm going to go down here with Mike Green, the edge rusher for the Bears at number 10. And then number 11, as we finish off the top 11 here in our first version, this is the first 11. We'll have two more versions of this, picks 12 through 21 and 22 through 32. The Niners, their current and future needs are D tackle, corner, receiver, outside backer. They run a 43, wide 9, and edge rush. And edge rush to me, I get the value. There's some guys here who are pretty talented. And of course, if Williams, Walker, or Green, that becomes a strong consideration. But to me, cornerback is their biggest need right now. They've got to get it solved here. Will Johnson at Michigan, to me, is the top-rated corner for us here at number 11. Now, when you're the Niners, I know some people want them to take receivers because they're kind of late there. I don't see the value in it. Barron, the corner from from Texas, is a consideration. I don't see Amos going here out of Ole Miss. He's going later. Will Johnson, the value meets the need. This is a really good pick for now in the future. He'll start year one. He will go to the Niners at number 11. So our first 11 picks in our audio and visual mock draft here at Inside the Birds 1.0. Titans, Cam Ward. They get their quarterback. Browns, Abdul Carter, edge rusher from Penn State. Shedeur Sanders for the Giants at number 3. Patriots get Travis Hunter. Great. I love this pick here. This would be a great one if he makes it. They get a corner opposite Gonzalez. 5, Mason Graham, the D tackle from Michigan. 6, the Raiders, McMillan, receiver from Arizona. Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, to the Jets at 7. 8, the Panthers finally get an edge rusher. Williams, the edge rusher from Georgia. 9, the Saints need edge rusher for the future and some for now. Jalen Walker, the edge rusher, another edge rusher from Georgia. 10, the Bears badly need an edge rusher. I mean, by far, the biggest need of this football team is an edge rusher. It meets the current and future need. It's a decent value, high-end edge rusher, really high-rising player. Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall. And finally, at number 11, the Niners, who need help at corner, they get it with Will Johnson from Michigan. Those are picks 1 through 11. All right, let's get to 12 through 21. The Cowboys. Yes, they need a guard for Zach Martin. We know that. I don't see quite the value here. They need a running back. Yes, the running game was a joke last season. Rico Dowdle did a yeoman's job for what he is. He's not a starting running back. He should never have been. He's a decent backup. They need D tackles. Yes, I'm aware of it. Edge, yes. They need a fusion of talent there. I don't see the value there, though. Receiver, linebackers, corners. They need it. The best player on the board is this guy's got tremendous upside. Walter Nolan, the D tackle from Mississippi. It was very, very talented. This guy, I mean, could he go in the top 10? Yes. I'll be interested to see how people see him here, who's an underclassman. So much upside. To me, he's the best player on the board, and I've got him going at number 12. The next guy, I'm sure the Dolphins would have taken Nolan here. They have a need at D tackle in a big way. They need interior linemen. They've never really gotten it right under Chris Greer on the offensive line. That's one area he's just not have done a good enough job. He's drafted otherwise fairly well, but offensive line, they need help, but there's just not a value there. They need backers. They need edge rushers because of the two starters who are hurt. Although Chop Robinson opened some eyes. They could use another guy, but they don't need to take one now. The best player on the board, no, that's questionable. Whether there are 3 or 4 players I like here. This is more of a current and future need. It's Kenneth Grant, another Michigan player, the D tackle. This fills a need for now and for the future. Let's go to number 14, to the Colts. Now, some people are going to go, why would you take this guy this early? Well, no, they're going to say, why would you take this position this early? I get this sentiment. But Chris Ballard is an average drafter. He's not bad. He's not really good. He's okay. And one of the areas where he's completely failed is the tight end. There are a bunch of average tight ends. He's never really gotten it right there. Chris has done a good job on the offensive line. Had some success with Michael Pittman and others at receiver. But tight end, it's just been a bunch of average players. Colston Loveland is the best player on the board. I know it's crazy too. Another Michigan player. He's not getting past Denver. In fact, I don't think, even if the Colts don't take him, I mean, you can make a case at a 17, he doesn't get past the Bengals at 17. So we're going to give Colston Loveland, the Michigan tight end, the pick here. I love the pick. Yes, they could use an interior offensive lineman. I could change my mind depending on the value that when I get more value intel on some of these interior offensive linemen. I typically like to wait. Now, the only time you really want to take a tight end early is when they're so much better than everyone else at their position and they're one of the best skill position players, which Loveland is. You take them. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks. You just got to be right. It's a good pick for ballot here at number 14. May not be popular, but I like the pick. Atlanta, number 15. They're another team, dire needed of an edge rush. They have to do this in terms of addressing their edge rush. Their other needs are safety, corner, and D tackle. D tackle is a consideration here, but when you look at their situation at edge rush, I mean, they just have not gotten it right. They've got to get it. They've got to be able to compete in that division or compete in the NFC. They've got to be able to get the quarterback. They don't. They're bad at it. We're going to go with Nick Scrouton, the edge rusher from Texas A&M, right here at number 15. So starting at 11 so far, 12, we've got Walter Nolan, D tackle from Mississippi to the Cowboys. Kenneth Grant, the D tackle from Michigan to the Dolphins. The Colts go with Loveland, the tight end to the Colts at 14. Scorton, however you say it, Scorton, I guess is how you pronounce it. To the Falcons, this is a great pick. They have to do this. This is a current need and a future need. Any way you look at it, this solves a major problem for now and for the future. Scorton, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. And then, it's interesting. So we're going to go to the Cardinals next. Now, last year I got this one right. A couple months before the draft, I had Darius Robinson going there for John Gannon, just knowing the kind of scheme he runs. I know Robinson didn't do much because he was hurt with a calf injury. Guy's a good football player, high character guy. I'm expecting him to play much better and definitely contribute. But they need edge rushers in the worst way. It's running really, really thin. Scorton's teammate, Shamar Stewart's going to be the pick. It depends on who you speak with, who's going to be higher graded. My early intel says Scorton, but I could change my mind depending on who I speak with this coming week. I'll be at the Combine, my 24th year for 7 days. Oh, joy. I do like it, though. You don't need a car to go at the Combine. You can just walk around, so it's great. But Shamar Stewart, the other edge rusher from Texas A&M, is the pick here. Man, we're running low here. We're running low on edge rushers, man. He's got great size. He's got a lot of talent. You're going to hear a lot more of him. And boy, does Gannon need it for his defense. And Monty Ossenfort needs to do this. Let's go to 17 to the Bengals. Remember, they need a tight end. There's not a tight end you would take. They need tackles. T. Higgins, they need a receiver depending on what happens with him. They need guards. They need interior linemen. They can use another corner, another nickel, depending on what happens with re-signing their veterans. So we're going to go with the best player available. Now, the guy I might be out in front of this one. Some people might not agree. Derek Harmon's going in the first round. I don't care if anyone's talking about it or not. I don't subscribe to that stuff. It means nothing to me. I don't care what NFL people think. This guy's a fantastic football player. He's going in the top 25. I don't call this a reach or too early. This guy's a starter day one remember they cut Sheldon Rankins. They saved over $10 million in cash. The Bengals did on Friday. That was expected. But Harmon will replace him. He'll be a starter day one. This is a good pick for them for a team that needs help on defense. Derek Harmon, particularly in the interior, it's Derek Harmon. Now, this next pick, the Seahawks are really poor at guard. They're not good enough. There are a number of guards. They're probably 4 to 5 guys to look at. Again, it's what do you like? Gray Zabel's the guy out of North Dakota State who had a very good Senior Bowl week. He's a very interesting football player. Zabel's one of these guys. Some scouts, personal people might say, you know what? I think he's early second, late first. He could play guard. He might be able to play right tackle. We're going to play him at guard the Seahawks are okay at tackle. They need a guard. They need a D tackle. I get that. Last year I got it right with the D tackle I gave them. And I'm not saying that I know this one, not that I knew. I mean, the teams aren't going to tell you who they're going to take, but you kind of know from intel how they see their team. And it's got to be a guard here or a D tackle. I don't see the value in the D tackle quite right now. So we're going to go with Gray Zabel, the guard from North Dakota State for the Seahawks. Number 19. Yes, folks, Bucks fans, I know you need a edge in the worst way. I don't see the value of a edge rusher here. Yes, they need an inside backer. They're not taking one here. There's no value. They could use a guard. I don't see the value. The best player on the board. In fact, this guy that I'm going to talk about at corner, I've got him going anywhere from 10 to 22-ish, 10 to 21, really, to the Steelers, maybe, if he made it. It's Jahdae Barron, the corner from Texas, who's terrific. See, folks, it's not about depth is not about how many players you have. It's about the talent of your players. Barron's better than any corner that they have. Barron's a great pick for Jason Light here at number 19. Number 20, the tight end's gone. Loveland's gone. Long gone. They need a running back. We know Javonte Williams is a free agent. They need a D tackle, inside backer, and a safety. Ashton Jeanty, this is where it starts. You start talking about him. And you know they will run the ball with Sean Payton. This is the best player on the board. He is going to the Denver Broncos at 20. At 21 to finish this one out. I've seen this guy. I've probably seen this guy play, not every game in his career, but I've seen Luther Burden play a ton. I'll be interested to see what he measures next week, the combine. This guy's a stud, absolute stud receiver. He will be a starter in day one if he makes it to the Steelers. He's the best player on the board for the Steelers here. We'll look at other receivers too in the next mock. We'll see if I could find anyone who NFL people think is better than him. But right now, to me, he's the best receiver on the board. There's no quarterback you would take here. Not right now. Now, I may change my mind for a certain Mississippi quarterback, but not right now. We're going to go with Luther Burden, the receiver out of Missouri, who would be a starter in day one for the Steelers. So, to finish this off, 12 through 21, Walter Nolan, D tackle to the Cowboys out of Mississippi. To the Dolphins, who need a D tackle, Kenneth Grant from Michigan. 14, Loveland, the tight end from Michigan, to the Colts. Falcons at 15 need edge, Scorton, the edge from Texas A&M. Back-to-back Aggies. For the Cardinals, Shamar Stewart, the edge from Texas A&M. To the edge needy Cardinals, 17, Derek Harmon. To the D tackle needy Bengals, there's no tight end you would take. Gray Zabel goes to 18. The guard, he'll play guard for the Seahawks. They need guards. To the Seahawks at 18. 19. Did I do 19? Did I miss them? No, I didn't. Jahdae Barron, the corner from the Bucks, this is the best value on the board, a position of current and future need. It's not a current need in having enough players. It's in a talent. They need a talent upgrade, and Barron is that guy. 19, 20. Love this pick. Ashton Jeanty, starter day one. They get their guy at 20 for Sean Payton. At 21, they are in dire need of receiver. Then they could use Wilson as their third receiver, and they'll be good. They'll be Ben Pickens. Obviously, they have to kind of get his deal done here. He's now played 3 years, but this will help them with their burden. This helps their passing game. Their offensive line is going to be good. They got to get the quarterback, but Luther Burden would be it for the Steelers. So you've heard 1 through 21.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Scholler, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
All right, let's get back to it, folks. Let's get to 22. The Chargers, their current and future needs are edge rush. They're older. The tackle, they're late. Asante Samuel Jr.'s up. Running back, yes, I know it's a consideration. Gus Edwards is the only quasi-starter under contract. They need a center, inside backer. They need an athletic tight end. Josh Palmer's up. They need a receiver. But to me, the best player on the board at a position of current and future need is James Pierce, the edge rusher out of Tennessee. Let's put it this way. he's not the best player on the board, but he fits what they need. There are two other guys who are offensive linemen who won't go past these next two picks, which I'm going to get to. But that's where James Pierce is going. This is a great pick for the Chargers, who are very old at edge rush. 23. I know offensive tackle is not a need, but Kelvin Banks. Now, see, the reason why, look, he could go in the top 10 or he can drop. What's he going to measure this week at the combine? That matters. I know he was an outstanding tackle at Texas, the best tackle for this draft, but he might be 6'4". How do teams see him? So if you're worried about the length, then he's going to drop. I know this is probably a little bit further than he should go. I get it. Some people won't agree with it, and that's fine. But I don't care. Look, this guy's such great value. The Packers don't really have a need, although they could start him at left tackle over Rasheed Walker, which would be an upgrade. So he will go here. This is a great value for the Packers. At 24, no, the Vikings don't need a tackle, but they need a running back at a corner. I don't have a corner of a great value here. Marion Hampton is a terrific running back of UNC. He goes here for the running back needy Minnesota Vikings at 25. Their offensive line, they've spent resources. It's still a problem. Guard is an absolute need. Tackle, right tackle, whether they go with Fisher now is the question. I think most people would think they would. It was a second rounder, but they didn't expect Will Campbell to be here, who certainly should not be going this late in a real draft. It's a mock draft. Yes, he's here. It's a mock draft. When we do the second one, heck, I could have him go in the top 15, but he's here. This is a 5-second turn your card in by the Texans. And Nick Cassier is like, we're taking this guy. This is a great pick for them. Will Campbell, the tackle out of LSU, figured out where we want to line him up. But next for the Rams, who are very light at receiver, we know they're going to move on from Cooper Kupp. And with the injuries to Puka Nacua, and they want to run a lot of 11 personnel, they're very light at receiver. Emeka Ibuka is the receiver here. He's the best player on the board for them, and this is a great pick for the Rams at 26. Number 27, this one's fascinating because they have a depth issue at receiver, but they don't need one. They don't need a draft one here. They need a guard. They need a left tackle. Ronnie Stanley's up. They need edge depth, rotation, and he could use another safety. This is a great value for Josh Simmons. He should go anywhere in the second half of the first round. Josh Simmons will play either tackle or guard from Ohio State. I like this one at 27. For those for those Ravens, the Lions, this is another team that has some needs. Guard, they're older there, and they have an opening. Edge rush, you saw all of the injuries. They didn't have good depth. Corner, they didn't have good. They thought they had good enough depth, but it got destroyed. Carlton Davis, by the way, the veteran corner, his contract's up. D tackle's a need, and wide receivers a need just for depth purposes. We're going to go with a guard here, Armand Membu, the guard tackle from Missouri. We like him. This is a good value here, 28 for the Lions, who should have made it to the Super Bowl, or at least challenged the Eagles to get to the Super Bowl. They didn't. Too many injuries. The Commandos, boy, they got a lot of needs. Receiver, edge, left tackle, and I'll get to that in a second. Corner and middle linebacker, Bobby Wagner's up. I'm looking at Matthew Golden here, but man, here's the thing: for a value, the left tackle position's got better value when you build your value board. That's what the late great Gil Brandt told me early in my career in the early 2000s. And Golden here, Matthew Golden, the receiver out of Texas, is a big consideration. But I'd rather, if I'm running the Commanders, or if I work for Adam Peters, I'm saying, Peters, AP, we need a left tackle. Let's move Brandon Coleman into guard. It'll make our line better. And so we're going to go with Josh Connerly, left tackle out of Oregon, and number 29 for the Commandos. Now they could continue to build their offensive line. They'll get a receiver in the second round. The Bills, they are wide receiver needy. They need edge rush help, corner, safety, and D tackle. Matthew Golden, the best player in the board at a position of need for now and the future. There's no question about that. They've got to get better receivers. This guy's a good football player. At number 30 to the Bills. At number 31 for my friends in Kansas City and WHB. Yes, receivers a need. D tackle is a clear need for the future. Chris Jones is getting up there anyway. Left tackle, I know they look. I'm thinking here that I'm trusting Andy Heck and that staff to get Sumatea, who they drafted last year. I know he got benched. He was a second rounder. I know he's a little raw. They got to give him a chance. Joe Tooney's not a left tackle. DJ Humphries is not. Wanye Morris didn't work. I don't have a left tackle that would be right here. I don't see it for right now. But when I look at the Chiefs, you could look at a receiver here. Edge rush, yes. But D tackle, if you really look at their D tackle position, Noddy's up, Pennell's up, Treshawn Wharton, who's been a good story, by the way, as an undrafted free agent on 2020. He's up. We're going to go small school route. We're going to go to those Rockets and the MAC. The Eagles drafted Quinyon Mitchell out of that school, and he turned out to be a stud. And we're going to stay there. We're going to go with Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle out of Toledo. For the runners-up for the Super Bowl and for the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, edge rush help. An Eagle fan knows that. D tackle, yes, they're going to be light there if Milton Williams walks, which is probably realistic at this point. Inside backer, yes, they have a depth issue. There's no doubt. Corner, see, it depends where they're going to play Cooper DeJean, because there's a corner I would consider here, but the problem is I don't know what they're going to do with DeJean yet. If they're going to keep as nickel or as an outside corner. Running back is not a need per se, but if Kenny Gainwell walks, they'll need someone who can block, but they don't need to get anyone early. So we're going to go with a guy who absolutely blew it up. What a season he had at Boston College. That's the edge rusher. He's a little bit undersized. That's a little bit of concern because of Nolan Smith at the other side. But Donovan Azirku, the edge rusher from Boston College, DE, who blew it up this past season with 16 and a half sacks. You just have to understand how good this kid was this season. I know it's a one-year situation. I get that, but the tape is good. The Eagles could go for D tackle here, but we're going to go with the edge rusher. Azirku, the edge rusher from Boston College. All right, 21, 22 through 32. For the Chargers, James Pierce, edge rusher out of Tennessee. 23, because he's there, Kelvin Banks, great value. For the Packers, continue to build that offensive line out of Texas. Vikings, Marion Hampton, the running back out of UNC. Texans, because this is an incredible value. I know he should go much earlier for you draftniks out there. I get it. That's Will Campbell, the offensive tackle out of LSU. For the offensive line needy Texans, I don't know what it is with them. They keep drafting guys, and they're still not good enough. The Rams, Ibuka, the receiver from Ohio State. 27, the Ravens, Josh Simmons, the offensive lineman from Ohio State. Lions, Mabu, the guard from Missouri. That's a need for them. No question about current need for sure. And for the future. The Commanders, they can go for receiver or left tackle here. We're going to go with left tackle, move Brandon Coleman into guard. That's Josh Carnley, the left tackle from Oregon. I'll learn more about that in future weeks. 30, Buffalo, Matthew Golden, the receiver for the Bills, who are dire need of receivers for now and for the future. Kansas City, my sleeper pick, Darius Alexander, D tackle out of Toledo. And for the Eagles, we've got Azirku, or Ziraku. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Ziraku could be. I'll find out this week. Maybe I talk to him when the players are getting interviewed here in front of the media. For the Eagles, who solves a need for the future and for now as an edge rusher. All right, folks, check us out. All of our great content at InsideTheBirds.com. We thank our friends at Stretch Zone for sponsoring this mock draft, and we'll speak to you soon.